Cool. Welcome everybody. Today we're continuing a part two of our live with Eben Britton, and we're gonna get into some sauna myths right now and some controversial comments that have been going on for a while about sauna space, some new ones, some old ones. So let me get Eben here. And yeah, once Eb gets on here, we're gonna we're gonna hammer through a list of all these different myths. Eb, here you are.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, thank you for waiting.
This is fun, dude.
So yeah, dude, we wanted to. I wanted to make sure to get through a list of these different, just all this myths and controversies and things people have said about sauna space for a long time. Some recent stuff
Can
to just
we
clear up a lot of things.
can we start with what was the initial opinion or idea? Because I know that you've done a lot of work with Big Joe, Dr. Joe Mercola,
Yeah.
and he's
So
he's
I met Dr. Mercola in 2017 at Dave Asprey's biohacking conference in Pasadena.
yeah.
And at that time, he was an an avid farm fed sauna advocate, and he came up and we talked about spectrum. And honestly, we had an argument about the sauna space light spectrum, and I explained to him. Feel like I rebutted pretty well most of the things that he was saying,
Mm.
but it was a little contentious actually. And then he left the booth, and I was like, wow, I that didn't go so well. My first meeting with Dr. Ricola, but I stood my ground and just showed him my
Yeah,
slides
love
and what I was
that.
saying, and I was that was definitely earlier in my life where I was very very passionate, sometimes very emotional. Still am,
Yeah,
but like I've grown a little
you
bit in
really
that regard.
you wanted to fight. You
Yeah,
wanted,
yeah. Well, he wanted to
yeah,
fight too, but I was ready
yeah,
to
yeah.
I was
I'm
ready to
sure he
step
did.
up. So yeah, we had a heated discussion, and then he left, and then he came back and he shook my hand, and said thank you, and took some pictures of the slides,
Mm.
my really silly science slides that I was using at the shows to explain the spectrum and light spectrum and so forth. And he ended up putting it in his presentation and showed it to everybody and gave us a little shout out on the
Oh,
stage because he was one of
interesting,
the
dude.
keynotes. Yeah. So and then afterwards we talked again, and I basically, long story short, I was developing the EMF, what I call the EMF sanctuary. It's now called the Faraday sauna. It's soon to be called the Firelight sauna with the Silver Shield upgrade. And he tried out one of the prototypes, actually one of my first ones, and he loved it. And he said, let's do an interview, and I can promote you, but you can't mention your company name. And I was like, well, I was like, dang, that's kind of fucked up, but at the same time, like, what an amazing opportunity. One of the godfathers of natural wellness, and biohacking and stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I said, okay, I'm game. And then we ended up doing the recording, and he ended up softening his stance a little bit and mentioned SaunaSpace at the very end of his article. That was the transcript of the interview. We didn't mention the name in the video at all, really, but he made one mention of us at the end, and from then on out, he was using SaunaSpace. So that was like 2017, and he ended up using it for several years, and then I think it was during COVID, right? Yeah, 2020, the biohacking conference in Orlando. I connected with him again, and he said, "Oh no, I'm not using the SaunaSpace anymore because it doesn't get hot enough." and
Mm.
and right about then he released this was right at well I think it was maybe 2021. It was right after Dr. Rhonda Patrick released Sauna, her amazing article that I already referenced, Sauna regular sauna use as a lifestyle practice to extend health span.
Mm.
And he did an interview with a really cool guy named Ari Whitten, who's wrote this book on red light therapy. He's a really amazing guy. And anyway, in their conversation, he was convinced, Dr. Mercola was convinced that the sauna needs to be, 200 degrees or 180 degrees to get the health benefits. So
Mm.
then he published this new article that said, okay, so get the SaunaSpace lights because the technology is superior, but don't use their enclosure. Build your own enclosure or do something where you can configure a setup that allows the air temperature to get up to like 160, 170 degrees.
Huh.
And and then so you can read that article online, and that was his first shift. And so he published that, and I met him at the conference, and we talked about it. And I was like, you know what? You should try this new thing that I'm just testing now that I've only used myself, and that's the super sauna.
Mm.
And so more bulbs, and some people are like that in the biohacking world. Like more is better, right? More power is better. And I
Right.
would say it afflicts a lot of experts in the industry that more of a thing is better, like more power is better, and and that's a myth that I want to debunk. But anyway, like to bring us to the present. So now I'm in a position where he tries out the super sauna and he loves it. So I went, and this was after the conference. I went and set it up at his house, and he's been, since then, since for the last 3 or 4 years, he's been using what we call now the super sauna. His has 8 bulbs, so it's two 4 bulb panels. What you have and what I have is a 7 bulb. It allows it to run on a 50 amp circuit, but you can use 8 bulbs technically in there. That's what he's been using, and so once again, I came into alignment with his orbit of what is the best type of sauna. So it's a sauna that gets super hot and it has the near infrared light therapy at the same time. And at this time too, I think during the COVID era or shortly before, he published a book called EMF'd, where
Huh.
he endorsed us in it, and he said the sauna space, is the best sauna because of the light therapy technology, the incandescent light, and it's zero EMF, because we have the Faraday. It's like, wow, thank you so much. And so he was big on EMFs and big on the sauna getting hot. So the 8 bulbs and big on having the light therapy in the sauna. And now uh, he just published another article where he interviewed an expert from a far infrared sauna company. And he's shifted his stance once again. And there's actually some positive things that came out of the article. First of all, he finally says low air temperature is fine. The sauna can be 100, 120, 130. It's fine. It's all about those outcomes that one sweating out 1 pound of water and raising core temperature 3 degrees, which, by the way, if I back up a little bit, when he said the sauna wasn't hot enough, and before I had him using the super sauna, I actually read the Rhonda Patrick article and dissected it and created my own response where I realized that, look, in this article, it doesn't matter how you heat the body up. All
Mm.
that matters is you raise core temperature 3 degrees and sweat out one
Right.
pound of water, which I've been saying since then. And once I convinced him of that, he actually changed his mind, and in between the Ari Whitten article and the current interview we're talking about, he interviewed me again, and we
Mm.
did a really deep dive. You can watch it on BitChute where we talk about all things sauna, light therapy. It was really an amazing thing. Another full endorsement. So I'm like, we're going back and forth here, trying to do this dance. Anyway, I realized that like it doesn't matter. And if you look at the article, you see they have in these Chinese and Japanese studies where they put people in these big foil suits and they have them working out and they have them doing passive things and they get amazing thermoregulatory response. So they're getting the same sauna effect when you
Right.
get in a
They're
hot sauna,
raising
and
the
they're just wearing
temperature.
these suits. And
Right.
then you see hot tubs, hot pools, localized heat therapy. And you realize from the article and all of the sauna research out there, it doesn't matter how you heat the body.
Mm.
All that matters is those two outcomes. And a third one might be subjective exhaustion, where
Mm.
you feel like you got enough in there. And so
Yeah, that makes
uh,
a lot of sense to me, dude.
and so those still stand. And so in the current in the current interview that he does, he calls that out, and I really appreciate that. It's finally being like really well respected and established. What matters when we do sauna is to sweat out a pound of water and raise core temperature 3 degrees. There's a
Mm.
lot of amazing ways to do sauna. As long as we achieve that outcome, we're good. We're getting the benefits of sauna, and let's carry on.
So
So that was one.
then, so
Go ahead.
then, to answer a question here about what the temperature needs to be, it doesn't. That's a moot point,
Yeah, the air
essentially.
temperature is a moot point. We need to measure body
Right,
temperature.
right. It just matters that the core temp goes up 3 degrees,
Right, right.
and
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 it
like
will
you
take.
saying, however we get that done doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. Of course,
Mm.
if we're all about time,
Yeah,
time is
yeah,
time is money, then let's there's different ways to get it done faster. But
yeah.
yeah, we hit those. You know, you can even heat up put the hottest possible water in your bathtub and get in there, and you can
Mm.
get a nice sweat
Dude, I
going on, and
think
wait for that.
this is such a massively important point for people to understand about their sauna use or exercise or anything in general, just about understanding the power of heat and having that, that number to think about. I want to sweat out a pound of water. I want to raise my core temp 3 degrees, and then I create these outcomes in my body. Like, I think because so many people, I've had conversations with guys who say, yeah, I don't think the infrared does anything because there's no science on infrared sauna. It doesn't get hot enough, whatever their arguments might be. But it's like, actually what
Mm-hmm.
you really need to understand is this concept that the outcomes are directly correlated to only two factors, which is raising your core temp 3 degrees and sweating a pound of water. Beyond that, it doesn't matter what the temperature is, because
Beautifully said.
it's just not about the temperature at all.
Yeah, and you can measure those two outcomes. If you're really left brain, you want to know, you want to be really analytical, you can use an infrared thermometer, instant read,
Right.
watch your body temperature go up, and you can actually weigh yourself on a digital scale before and after the sauna, and you'll know how much sweat weight you lost. And I did that for a while actually in the beginning, but of course,
Yeah,
once you
it's
do it for a
interesting.
while, you don't really need to measure it. You know, like you can like see on your body how much sweat is coming out, and you know when you've hit that sweet spot.
Yeah, a lady, I think you answered this in part one, actually. Stacy here asks approximately how long it would take with the four bulb panel to heat your core temp to 3 degrees.
With the four bulb panel, it's usually 25 to 35 minutes. Uh,
Okay.
when I was using four bulbs, I would actually stay in there more like 40 minutes. Once you get acclimated, it takes longer, but plan on a good half-hour session.
Uh-huh.
With the seven bulb system that you use and I use, the Super Sauna, it's halves the session time. It's only about 15 minutes or so.
Oh, yeah,
But
dude. I mean,
having said that, so that's another thing that's funny about this educational journey I've been on with Dr. Mercola is that he loved the Super Sauna so much. He's like, this, you need to recommend this, and offer this
mm,
to people. So we started offering it, but we had to offer it with a lot of caveats because it's too intense for most people.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
you know,
pretty intense.
you got to be like, you got to be acclimated to sauna, not have underlying medical conditions, and even then, like take it slowly in the beginning, because seven bulbs is too much for many people. On the one hand, I've got some people who say, I want to sweat more, Brian. I want more power. I want seven bulbs. I also have a huge customer community who are challenged in the beginning to use two bulbs, and they have to keep the
Mm,
curtain open. People with autoimmune issues and Lyme and other things, their homeostasis is way out of whack, and
yeah, yeah,
they need something super gentle. So all of our products, they have multiple switches. So even if you get the seven bulb system, you can start out using only four or three. But like trying to in releasing the Super Sauna, I realized even more how challenging it is to make a product that fits all all types and all lifestyles, because there are a lot of not a lot of people. There are some instances where people get the super sauna and they're like, "Wow, it's too intense. It's too much." And so and that's where we're like, yeah, just turn it down, baby, turn it down. Like you, so there's the vast majority of SaunaSpace users are only using 4 bulbs, and they love it, and it's all you need. It's super great. So like it was interesting to encounter that once we released it, and we've updated our use guidelines and try to be as helpful as we can. But anyway, so back to like the new article that Dr. Mercola published. So I appreciate that he's calling out, the outcomes that we need to measure that you so articulately have stated. And he's also saying now finally, yeah, the temperature doesn't matter. Inside the sauna, it can be nice and cool. What matters are those outcomes. Another thing that he finally puts in order is the concept of near versus far infrared light and
Mm,
how it's absorbed by the body. And this is kind of another myth that's out there that you see in the marketing material of some far infrared sauna companies. They're saying that that far infrared penetrates the deepest. And so that's, the far infrared is the best because it's the best way to heat the body because it penetrates the deepest. That's categorically untrue. Uh,
mm,
the body is full of water, and water absorbs light. It starts absorbing light in near infrared. And the
mm,
absorption gets stronger and stronger as you get into mid and then far infrared. You get total absorption of far infrared wavelengths by water. Since we have water everywhere, we see that actually in the research, far infrared wavelengths penetrate only a fraction of a millimeter. And that's because they're absorbed by water. So in contrast, the near infrared light, and actually like 830 nanometers or so, has been shown to be the deepest penetrating into biological tissue. It's right in what we
mm,
call the optical window of the body. So far infrared wavelengths are completely absorbed by water and therefore don't penetrate deeply. Near
mm,
infrared
mm,
wavelengths, because they're only partially absorbed by water, it's kind of like some quantum mechanics. The average near infrared photon goes deep into the body, and if it hits a mitochondrial, cytochrome enzyme in the mitochondria, it produces light therapy effects. If it hits water, it's absorbed by water, and so near infrared is also heating the body, but in general, with much deeper penetration. And so he finally clarifies that in an effective way, I would say, and puts to bed and to rest this misunderstanding that we have of near versus far infrared.
mm,
There's nothing wrong with far infrared, by the way. The SaunaSpace bulb emits, it's like 20% far infrared. There's a substantial amount of far infrared coming out of the Firelight bulb.
mm,
It's not about near versus far. It's about mimicking the light of nature. And in the light of nature, like I said before, you've got a little bit of red, mostly near infrared, some mid infrared, some far infrared, in a declining amount. And that's what we're doing here. So nothing wrong with far infrared, but just understand that it's heating the body like a regular sauna from the outside in. That's why far infrared saunas, you have to heat them up. They have to be preheated. With the SaunaSpace, you don't need to preheat because we're not really using the air to heat you. If you're using the air
right.
to heat you like a traditional sauna or a far infrared sauna, you got to preheat it an hour and probably stay in there an hour to get those outcomes we're talking about, sweating and temperature increase.
What? Well, I don't want to take you away from addressing the whatever. Or it sounds like though his recent article is even coming into greater alignment with you. Is that right?
It does clear up a lot of things that have been lagging out there. I guess to give the full picture, basically in the article, he is now endorsing a far infrared sauna company,
Oh,
and he's now recommending that as his first choice.
so
Although he also says in there that the the whether you choose a near or far infrared sauna is completely based on individual goals and needs. So he's kind of like he's saying, look, I'm using a far infrared sauna now. Near, far, you need to get what suits you best. And then one other thing that he mentioned is that uh, light. He claims that you can't get enough light therapy from an incandescent bulb from like what we do
Mm,
because you can't get close enough. You can't get a therapeutic level of photobiomodulation. And so that's one thing that I would just address really quickly. You can measure photobiomodulation. It's measured in a radiance. And therapeutic light therapy is like 10 to 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So it's just a measurement. It's like a power level of light therapy. So in the literature, we see from 10 to 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. When you go into the sauna space with a 4 bulb sauna at about 2 feet where you sit, your near infrared and red irradiance is about 65 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So it's very much in the middle of the therapeutic like range, and
mm,
that's only with 4 bulbs. Of course, with 7 bulbs, it's quite a bit higher. So it's something where he said that, but there's not really a discussion of well how much light therapy do you get from the SaunaSpace Firelight? So I wanted to clear that up. You can email us too, and I have those. I don't think we have them published on the website, but we have a radiance measurements that we've done showing that yeah, it's absolutely in the therapeutic range, and you can get. What's interesting is also there's this famous light therapy researcher, Dr. Michael Hamblin, who has a really awesome article that we'll put in the show notes called "Friend or Foe." And what he notes in there too is that there's actually a mitochondrial response at like one, even like less than 1 milliwatt per centimeter squared. So even if, for example, you're in front of the bonfire and the temperature source is quite a bit cooler than the SaunaSpace Firelight bulb and quite a bit cooler than the sun, there's still a some amount of light therapy you're getting. The bonfire is not just heating you; it's stimulating this healing
mm. That's
that's going on in the
interesting.
body, even at a low power. So, so yeah, that basically sums up kind of what he mentioned in his article. So it's kind of a mix of a lot of things, and yeah, I mean, it definitely comes, it comes, really in the wake of not just him. There's a lot of people who are saying, "Hey, near infrared's not good. Near infrared saunas are dangerous. You need to use far infrared saunas." I know
Mm.
there's a there's a lady named Judy Mikovits who
Yeah. Judy Mikovits. Yeah.
Judy Mikovits, I believe. So she's really an interesting person, really great researcher, and I would say bearer of truth in the field. Maybe controversial sometimes, but she said something that I read recently on one of the far infrared sauna manufacturer websites, and it was something along the lines of near infrared light is not resonant with the human body. Only far infrared light resonates with the human body. And to that, I would just echo many of the comments I've already made that we have mitochondria. They absorb wavelengths of red and near infrared. We have this system in every cell of the body. It's how the sun heals us and gives us energy. And so we're absolutely like in alignment and resonant with more than any wavelength of the sun, I would say, with near infrared because of all the healing and all the amazing stuff it does in the body. So I think that's just a kind of a misunderstanding of human biology. Now we know our ancestors knew this. They knew the sun provides and nourishes all life on Earth, and we see in the research as well. The more we use red light therapy on different like things in the body, the more we see results. Where
Yeah.
it's like TBI, brain problems, organ problems,
Skin
inflammation in the
conditions.
gut. It's like everything. You point and shoot it at a problem, and it gets better.
Interesting. So where would this be coming from? This idea from people who are highly respected. Where is this idea about near
Hmm.
infrared? What is that being spawned by?
Well, it's sort of the big misstep, or maybe the the myopic viewpoint that researchers and academics sometimes have, and that's in looking at one article or one section of research and not putting it within like the whole body of everything we know of all the research. You can pick one. There's articles out there that show the near infrared's damaging to the body,
Mm,
and Dr. Hamlin talks about this in Friend or Foe. In those research experiments, they use way too much power. You know,
mm,
they get the irradiance is in like hundreds of joules or hundreds of milliwatts per centimeter squared. The joule dose absorbed is like thousands of joules. And when you have like way too much of a good thing, it becomes a bad thing. And that's because this, like anything else, is hormetic stress. This is hormesis.
uh,
So we, just like with exercise and cold plunge, also with sauna, also with light therapy, there's an optimal dose that we get after a
right.
certain amount of time. We
Uh-huh.
get too much and
It takes
we get declining
us the other
benefit.
way.
It sets the other way and it becomes damaging. So you can look at any, you can find any, you can find that in any type of research into anything, even with vitamin C. There is a toxicity level to vitamin C that you can exceed.
Mm,
And I think if you get too focused on one research article and you're not constantly updating, reading the news research as it comes out. And also, I would say stepping back from your sort of double blind placebo paradigm and understanding
mm,
science and understanding our reality in the world around us, and understand that in nature, there is no uh, there is no way to isolate one factor. In an experiment, you can take an
right.
experiment, you can take a plant and deprive it of sunlight, deprive it of nutrients, only get it water, and it's going to die. But
Yeah.
does that give you an indication of what is the optimal environment for the plant? No, it's telling you like one small thing. It's confirming one small
One
bias.
aspect.
So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's the issues. A lot of researchers or a lot of experts in the biohacking and wellness community, they get caught up and emotionally wedded to one perspective or one piece of research, and also the concept of that research itself. Research is limiting in that regard. The whole double blind placebo paradigm, that whole like methodology, was developed to test pharmaceutical drugs. But the optimal human needs a lot of things. It needs like the light of nature, all of these wavelengths in a particular way, and grounding, and water, and sleep, and love, and you pull away one of these things, and you can have a serious issue with health.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that's hard to test. So anyway, I would say that these types of myths come from misunderstanding the research, not reading the research, or getting too sucked up into it instead
Mm,
of stepping back and the infinite, our infinite side of our nervous system is our what we call our right brain.
mm,
That's where we're
mm.
connected with the all and everybody around us, and our ability to data process, and the subconscious is really unlimited. So what I would say to people is, what makes you feel good?
Yeah.
And not
That's,
just, not just
yeah.
immediately either. Sometimes
Yeah.
you could do a sauna and you can do too much and you feel good for a while, but then maybe it really affects your sleep and you have terrible sleep that night because you just did way too much toxin release, too much.
Mm,
So we need to pay attention, not just in the short term, but also in the mid and the long range. Like, how are we feeling? How am I being in this situation? It's a much better, I would say, yardstick of gauging and
yeah.
assessing like your experience with a therapeutic than anything else.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. That was exactly what I was going to say. And this guy here, Richard Cortez, he said it, took the words out of my mouth. Everybody has to search for their own feel good frequency. And that's the total journey through life, dude. But I was
Yeah.
going to ask you, you something that I'm really fascinated by. I think as a yogi, I'm really fascinated by what is the feeling experience of raising your core temperature 3 degrees, sweating out a pound of water. Because I've had this shift in my meditation practice, for instance, where I no longer set a timer. I just go. I sit down, I close my eyes, and I start meditating. And I meditate until I get what I want. I get to that place where I
Mm.
feel totally anchored. And one of my great mentors said this thing to me a long time ago. He was talking about this one Native American tribe. I can never remember the name, but he said, you know, they don't stop the rain dance until they feel the water beneath their feet. And
Mm.
in the same tone, you know, we pray until you feel the prayer in your body. You pray until you feel that sensation, like you get the experience of having realized your objective, whatever it means. And that's in like a super, you know, kind of dualistic perspective, but that's essentially, you know, we can do that with everything in the grand scheme of our life. You know, we can live, and everything is an opportunity to experience the thing, you know, and letting that be the marker. So rather than getting in the sauna and saying, I'm going to be in here for 30 minutes, what's the feeling objective? Like, what is the feeling that correlates to the physiological response of 3 degrees core temperature increase and a pound of sweat? You know, for me, I feel like I get to that place where, you know, it can feel brutal in there. You know, like you get like your heart rate's up, my nervous system's up. I get to that place where I think I'm actually going to die. You know, my nervous system kind of starts to go the other way, and I'm like, I'm about done. You know, it's the same for me in a hot yoga room, like doing a Bikram class, 90 minutes, and it's super hot. And you go through this plane, you get yourself to this place because at that point, essentially, you surrender. You know, you get to the place where you have to surrender to it. So I'm interested to know, like, is there a feeling, a sensation in our body that we can tune into when we've achieved the 3 degrees increase and the pound of sweat? And maybe that's to be
Yeah.
determined.
There is a starting point, and the starting point is subjective exhaustion. I mentioned that
Mm,
really quickly.
uh-huh,
So, subjective exhaustion is when you feel like you've had enough. You start to feel uncomfortable. You start to get the
uh-huh.
feeling, okay, I feel good, like it feels amazing, and I feel like I've had enough.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and then if you can stay in another couple minutes, that's amazing because subjective exhaustion chemically is when we produce
Right,
dynorphins. And,
right.
and those lead to the more dynorphins, the more endorphins you get produced when you're done, with your sauna sessions. Same as workout. So
Mm-hmm.
so if you can hang in there a little longer, beautiful. If not though, that's also fine. And each day it's different. If you're wondering what the feeling is, know that as you do this, you get you start to remember what your body feels like and the
Mm,
feelings and this power you have and all these senses that you have that are beyond the five senses, the five traditional senses of an awareness of your state of being that become honed as you get out of your mind and back into your body and you reconnect and you remember as you do sauna and as you expand your consciousness and purify your temple. If what we're talking about sounds like a little bit esoteric, it's not. It just comes as a result of that daily discipline and that practice. You start to recognize,
yeah,
that feeling of I've had enough. In subjective exhaustion is like a real scientific way to describe it, but it's a great starting point. For
I
me,
think that's good.
for me, it changes and it depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes my intention going in, I don't always have like super profound intention. Sometimes my intention is sometimes I bring my book in there
Mm,
and I just want to catch up on something that's like I really want to read and I've got 15 or 20 minutes then. But and I do that and by the time I can't hold my book anymore because I'm too sweaty, that's I'm done. So then
uh-huh.
I've had enough. But other times like you take it, I love that. Go in, close my eyes, and start doing some breath work and I get to a point where I feel like super powered, charged up, and really sweaty, and I get out. And then there's other times where I go and I actually try to stay in as long as I can.
Right.
So I'm like changing it up. I'm not doing the same thing each time. And we know that also from life. Like
Yeah,
we
dude,
want,
that's such a
you know,
great point.
whatever it is, like brushing your teeth with your other hand or whatever, the our neuroplasticity remains resilient and strong when we do things differently,
Yeah,
and so it's something though. My point is, it's something that you discover as you're doing it, and it's all good, and there's no rush on that. What's beautiful about the sauna space approach is you go in there and you just be. There's nothing to do at all. You don't have to do any of these things. You can just sit there and do nothing,
yeah,
and your body will do all the work for you. Your body is your most powerful tool, and it's doing that for you. And while you're in there, it's a really enjoyable experience. There was one myth that I think somebody mentioned about the toaster oven. Does the sauna space, feel like a toaster oven? I'll let you
definitely
answer
not.
this. I feel like it feels like sitting in front of the bonfire. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
microwave or something
not at
like that.
all. No, it feels so soothing, dude. It's so soothing. It really feels so good. I mean, as a guy who's suffered from panic attacks since I was 18 years old and really been on a life journey of finding peace and cultivating peace in my nervous system, to put it scientifically, but peace in my heart, man, I mean, wherever you are mentally, emotionally, if you go and sit in the SaunaSpace sauna in front of those bulbs for within 2 minutes, you're brought right to love and ease and peace, and it's profound, dude. It's definitely calming, centering, peace bringing. It's all the stuff that you want, that we need in this day and age.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
thank
So
you, brother.
yeah, I'm glad we took the time here. At the end of all of this, all of this controversy, and all of this obsession over what's the best way to do sauna or to do light therapy, uh, I feel like for the most part, it's kind of a waste of time because they're all good. We're all good.
Yeah,
You got great products that are out there. We make a portable, organic, like pop-up, handmade, this elegant tent sauna that's super beautiful, and like I love the design principles we've designed in there. There's some people that gravitate more towards like a huge sauna that's like made out of glass, and there's other people who in the light therapy space, some people prefer the LED, like that approach. That's all good. Whatever you're using, if it's something that you get excited about and love to do and are going to be using it with discipline and making it a part of your life, uh, that I love that. Like that's the whole point. So all
yeah,
these products, there's solutions for everybody out there. We're not trying to make a one size fits all, although I am trying to make like the best sauna ever.
yeah,
Everybody it has to find like the solution for them, and it's beyond sauna. It's beyond light therapy. I saw somebody mention scalar fields, powerful technology that's been coming out recently that people are getting amazing results with. The 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 mosaic of our health, is this infinite moving thing where some things you need at certain times, you don't need others. Sauna happens to be one of the things that I feel like is a go-to tool that will always be essential for me because we're constantly exposed to toxins, and
yeah.
because we're beings of light. We're supposed to have this light every day and have it nourish us every day, and we shrivel, like a plant without sunlight, without it.
Well said, brother. Man, this has been so fun, dude.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for joining me on this roller coaster of myths and misconceptions. And I loved what we talked about before. So everybody who's watching this, we did a part one,
Yeah.
and we started out with an amazing Timu, Tumu breath work,
Tumo.
Tumo
Tumo.
breath work. So Eb got
Yeah.
Guided us in a little Tumo breath work. It felt amazing. And I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate the friendship and the opportunity for the podcast that I believe is published now.
Yes. Yes.
So,
It's
so everybody,
available. It's on
yeah,
YouTube. We'll put a. I I've been working on a clip for a minute that I'll collab you on too. We'll put a link in the story in my stories. Check it out. I'll share it with you guys so everybody can check that out. It's an epic conversation, just like this. But
yeah, it
yeah, man.
was awesome. We went deep on some cool stuff. So everybody, yeah, definitely check that out. Some things I've never talked about before we got into there. Oh yeah, real quick, I wanted to shout you out on your next Heal and Flow
Yeah, yeah,
event. If you
yeah,
want to tell everybody again.
yeah. Heal and Flow. That's our in-person event. We do breath work, yoga. We jump in the ice tubs. We're right on Lake Stevens, Washington. It's a gorgeous venue, amazing food, incredible people. Come have a lot of fun. Totally reset yourself. You leave a changed person. It's August 10 and 11 in Lake Stevens, Washington. You can hit the link in my bio to register. And I think we're giving everybody here a $300 off code. Anybody who stayed till the end, you get access to a $300 off code. Those will go fast. We only have a handful of those to give out. So we'll make sure that code is in the show notes. I believe it's there.
All right,
There it
SaunaSpace.
is. Oh, for SaunaSpace
So if you
is
want to go to the Heal and Flow and get 300 bucks off,
use
there's a link in September.
SaunaSpace.
You can use the
Yes.
code SaunaSpace.
And then if you're interested in getting a SaunaSpace from me, one of their epic light bulbs, or even a full-blown sauna, you can use code EbenFlow for 10% off at sauna.space. Um, yeah, a lot of good stuff, man. Anything that I'm doing, you could find it in the link in my bio. Would love to see you guys. Also got my group mentorship program, Life and Flow, going. A lot of ways to connect.
Well,
So
I'd
appreciate
love to see
it.
you too. I guess I will see you next week.
Yeah,
I think I'll be down in
dude.
Austin,
Oh yeah.
so we'll be hanging. You still got that cold plunge set up?
Oh yeah, brother. We'll have that. We'll be doing some cold tubs and some hot saunas.
Oh yeah, amazing,
The
cool.
best, bro.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful for the time and your perspective and your amazing energy, brother. Like, look forward to the next time. Gotta have you on
Oh
again for sure.
yeah, we'll do it again, bro, for sure. Yeah, appreciate you, man. Love you tons. Thank you. Excited to see you next week.
Yeah, I love you too, brother. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Until the next time.
Thanks, guys.